Welcome to a long-delayed another episode of the Splitfire Gaming Podcast. This time it's another, not a tournament, a narrative event. So we've got Scott back. Welcome back, Scott.
Hello, thanks for having us again.
Any time, as you're a long-serving veteran on the Splitfire program, but you're not getting your own credits just yet.
Just keep begging to come on. Just desperate for somebody to have us, to be honest.
Well, there is begging going on, but it's usually not the guests that doing it. So we have gone. Well, we've signed up for the Sundering of Athel Loren, which is another Triple Crown event, but it's a bit different. It is a narrative event. Now, since you are a massive competitive filth meister, I don't know why. What?
I'm a fluffy, thematic guy.
I don't know if this is the event for you, and seeing as I only bring fluff to events, it may be more of an event for me. But let's find out. Have you ever been to a narrative event before?
No, but let me caveat that. I mean, that's not fair. Neither of you filth monster. But no, to be fair, I've unfortunately not made it to any of the narrative events previously, purely because of sort of work and time allowance. But like the Triple Crown guys do run like a phenomenal event. Everyone I've been to from them have been excellent, and I know you feel the same.
Yes.
So, genuinely looking forward to it. To be honest, I also wasn't going to this one at first because I couldn't guarantee time off work, missed a ticket, and then managed to get on the reserve list, which was fantastic.
See, the reserve list does work, so don't give up hope if you can't get that ticket. They asked me to go to it last year. I think they had a spare ticket, but I couldn't get out of work. But it was definitely on my to-do list because it's not something I've ever done before. So I was pleased that I managed to get a ticket this time.
Yeah, I think the effort the Triple Crown guys have gone to, like creating the scenarios, creating the different. I know we'll come on to talk about like the individual army special characters that are unique to their own event.
Yeah, I noticed that.
I think what if just such hats off to them, such real unique flavour, and definitely looking forward to going to, and they do put so much effort into it. And everyone who has been to them is highly of them.
Apparently they've all got jobs as well, so I don't know where they fit in all this time, but fair enough.
Probably why you and I are just talking nonsense. They actually do something well that people don't.
Yeah, we just sit on the sidelines and review stuff, whereas they actually do stuff of that's worth it.
Busy buggers. Disgustingly productive.
Yeah, I'm not going to change though. That's too much like hard work.
Yeah.
So we've got the comp. So I thought we could go through it a bit. I don't know what my listenership is. Are they more competitive or are they more narrative? But I've never mentioned narratives on the channel before. So it's got its own story. They've ran them. I think this is the third one in this story arc that they've done.
Yeah, I believe so.
So it's all around this character called Thalandor.
Yep.
Who is a wood elf, I think.
Wood elf possessed by a demon. Not to spoil any of their lore. Through the last events, essentially he's possessed by a demon, full of rage, and essentially he's an emo like most wood elves. But he's a really aggressive emo. And it's now got to this stage.
It's starting
to culminate.
Wood elves are vegans, dark elves are emos.
No, they're not. Wood elves are crazy in the new book. They're all mental. I say new book as if the game's not dead. It has been for years, but it's still the new book.
The new book from 10 years ago. Yeah,
exactly that. And it's got to the stage where all of the other races of the world have essentially come together on two different sides, either for Thalanor to take over to reset the world or whatever the outcome is to be, or to stop that from happening. Sort of the servants of the Wildwood, which are the ones fighting with Valinor. We'll call them the archetypical bad guys. Wood elves, Skaven, dark elves, warriors of chaos, demons of chaos, chaos dwarfs, beastmen, and vamps. So all the bad guys, because that's what wood elves are, because they're emos. And then stopping them, the forces of the good guys, dwarfs, tomb kings, lizardmen, empire, brets, orcs and goblins, kind of. Ogre kingdoms, and somehow high elves keep trying to convince the world that they're good guys.
Well, to be fair, the high elves could stop them by themselves. I don't know why we've got this trash dwarfs, orcs and goblins chipping in to help. We don't need the help, really.
But there's almost sort of people who are relatively pro-nature to some way or another, or order, with, like, say, with the potential exception of orcs and goblins, but you can't have the teams too unbalanced either.
Yeah.
What else would normally have fit into the good guy thing if they weren't following a demon-ridden lunatic?
But that's quite. I like that because that opens the door to the a more what they call like tree spirit army, because they're not good or they're not nice. So
yeah, and I suppose it's only in a narrative event such as this that you could even consider a tree spirit army and have any hope of taking part in a reasonably enjoyable manner without getting like ruffle stomped, because like these freaking are just so appalling in the 8th edition rule set, like, and they can't have banners, so like, they lose out on a lot of things that you would have to have in a competitive army. Period.
And Tomb Kings and Ogres are not unaligned, so that simplifies that, because you can't have two armies floating around with no real attachment in a narrative, I suppose.
Yeah, and I suppose it's to a large point it fits their story that they've built over these different events, which I think just sort of further adds to the flavour and shows how successful they have been, and it's sold out quick enough, and people are sort of really bought into it.
Because this isn't like you're not playing for yourself. It's not like who's getting the most tournament points, because that doesn't exist. It's you're trying to build. Is it campaign points they're called, or mission points?
Yeah, you get that mission so that it's the different scenarios. Each scenario is very unique. There's some, and you win by getting mission points. It doesn't matter if you wipe out your opponent. If whilst getting wiped out, your opponent gets more mission points, they win.
Yeah,
which I think's really cool. And let you build armies that are quirky and fun and more themed, rather than, like you say, your traditional like powerhouse list to just win 20-0s. So I'm really hopeful to see some really different, unusual lists, which should be really quite entertaining as well.
And it's the thing I read that I really liked was what happens next is influenced by how everyone did in the previous round. So how the forces of good, if they're on the back foot, that changes what happens next in how the day progresses. That's quite clever.
Yeah, I agreed. Like it's like every game in the overall team that's winning, like they almost get penalized, or the team that's losing gets a bonus at the start of the next game. I just think, yeah, like hats off to them. I'm really looking forward to taking part in it. It sounds, and the pack reads really well. Like hats off to the guys for putting it together.
It is really different, and that's why I am really looking forward to going to it, just for the experience more than anything else.
Yeah, definitely. And to be fair, like still, like it's nice to then meet up with you guys from like elsewhere in the country that we only really see at the like the GTs or the events that the Triple Crown guys put on. So it's always an excellent weekend. So like that's something to look forward to regardless.
They're not doing a quiz this time, are they? Doing something else?
Something else. That's because that we were so really superior in the quiz.
I don't like being anything other than modest, but we triumphed eternally for that quiz.
So I mean, essentially, we can't beat them at the game, so we just have to beat them at the nerd law.
Yeah,
I'm okay with that.
I mean, crashed out in the past two tournaments, but
yeah, one of the real games for losers. It's all about the nerd law.
It's all about knowing things that didn't happen, or didn't exist.
exactly. And
Yeah,
that free round of drinks that it was, and
that
that's the important thing.
that was a tangible benefit to to going.
Absolutely was. That
Uh,
free paint was what made the whole weekend worthwhile.
tasted like victory.
It
Um,
did.
so the basic setup, as you were saying, was there's the bad guys and the good guys, the armies of the oak, who are the good guys, and the servants of the wildwood, the bad guys. And they've invoked various gods to help them in this clash. So the armies of the oak can take either Asuryan, Lileath, or Vaul as their dedication, and the armies of the oak, sorry, the armies, the servants of the wildwood, can take Kurnous, Hekarti, or Khaine, and that has a big effect on what your army can do. Which again, I like this changing the basic mechanics of the rules, which normally I don't like, but because everyone's getting it, it's not unbalanced. Well,
Yeah,
not.
that and it's unbalanced purposefully in the
Mm,
fact that it's for the narrative.
yeah,
And the other thing that's cool is once you dedicate yourself to one of those gods, you get a free priest of that god as a lord character. Well, yeah, on top, and it's just free, just purely for the narrative point of the game, which I think is just again adds to the flavor. Very cool, and their abilities link into the missions.
yeah. It, and you've got to. It's supposed to promote customization and convert things and doing your own. So as we'll go on later, I've gone for Vaul, so I've made a priest of Vaul. But the good guys can have. So Asuryan, um, everything in the army gets +1 to their leadership characteristic. Um, well, Lileath is sorry.
So I was just going to say the thing with the priest of Asuryan also for the unit he's in gets always strikes first.
Oh yeah, that's right.
So
So that's the benefit. So the army wide is +1 leadership, and the unit that the priest goes into gets always strikes first.
yeah, so essentially becomes elves. I can see that being very popular, especially
Yeah,
like say in a night bus in Bretonia. I would certainly think that would be very fitting and work very, very well.
because let's see the armies that can take it. I mean, dwarfs. Well, their
Yeah,
initiative's quite low, isn't it?
Empire.
Lizardmen, Empire.
I would
Uh,
Empire, Lizardmen.
because yeah, there'd be some use out of all of these, just even to.
Oh yeah.
Oh,
I
oh,
mean, ASF is such a powerful ability that it's. I think we'll see Priests of Asuryan being very popular.
even without the reroll, it's still really strong.
Well, I thought about it in the army I am, and I would never get the reroll,
What's a ghoul's
but it's still be.
initiative?
I am not taking vampires.
Oh yeah, of course not.
I know.
I
I know.
automatically thought you were. What's the skeletons initiative?
That's probably one. I have no idea.
Um,
Never had to look at it. I just always go last unless I'm fighting the zombies.
+1 leadership is good as well. I mean, these are. I mean, dwarfs are high leadership anyway, so they're going to be universal leadership 10.
ASLD 10?
Yeah.
Outrageous.
Lizardmen are high leadership, plus they're cold-blooded, so they're going to be base leadership, what, 9?
9 on, well, 9 on a
9
big
on 3.
Saurus or above.
Yeah, 9 on 3 dice.
7. Yeah.
Em-
No, it's ace. I think it's really cool.
Empire, they're going up to 8. So yeah, that's ironically for being the chief god of the elves. He's not particularly great for high elves.
I suppose all he do, the other thing that most of these special abilities do is this, or elf-like because they're elf gods, though, aren't they? Which again fits and is very cool.
And
Certainly from Asuryan as the main elf dude.
I suppose he gets enough worship as it is, so the elves can dedicate themselves to somebody else for a bit. And when you dedicate yourself to a god, you unlock some magic items. So for Asuryan, it's Phoenix Ruby, which is if you die, your character dies on a 2+, you come back on 1 wound, but then you lose your +1 leadership bonus the character that comes back to life and the unit they're on loses that. So that's pretty good.
Yeah. Yeah, again, adds flavour. Like the second one is a 2-up water against flames, and you cause
Oh, the Oil of Asuryan.
in your attack. Yeah, again, just another. I love the flavour. Like I think they've done a lot of thought into it. Very cool.
And these aren't like devastating. It's not like write your own
Yeah.
rules magic items. That's 40 points for the Phoenix Ruby. So that's quite a chunk. And there's one for all of it. It's like there's one expensive one and one a bit cheaper. So the oil's only 15 points, but that's pretty good for 15 points. Two ward save against flame.
It's comparable to the Dragonbane gem,
Yeah.
but it's more expensive. But it's more in fitting with the narrative theme. And you're right. It's not like it's just write your own rules. They're crazy. All the priests are very generic stat lines. They're all
the same, aren't they?
weapons toughness 4, 3 wounds, initiative 4, 2 attacks, and LD 8. They're all the same.
Yeah.
Except they've got slightly different weapons. So like the one of Asuryan has halberd, Lileath has hand weapon, shield, but they're essentially the same person.
And they've got their own abilities. So the priests can they can either gain a mission point in the magic phase because they're all got bound spells. So
yeah, at level 5, so you've got to commit a couple of power dice to it.
Yeah. So the Besiege the Gods where you gain a mission point. And then the Asuryan's priest who's got Light of Battle, which is that you automatically rally and you become automatically pass leadership tests. Is that Light of Battle?
No, I don't have any book in front of us, to be honest. I can't remember off the top of my head.
I think that's what it is.
I'm not using them, so I don't know.
See, haven't looked. We've researched this well.
Yeah.
I think that's it.
Well, because I'm playing a good guy this time.
Technically.
I'm a good guy army this time. So the VC and the Chaos Dwarfs are getting left at home. And I am frantically in the process of painting an entire new army just for this event. So it won't be amazing by any stretch. I mean, I'm not an amazing painter, but it will be tabletop standard. We're really making some really nice progress with it. Like not just myself, but me and my wife are painting it together as a little big project, which is really cool. We're getting there. Chunk left to paint, but I'm taking Tomb Kings, and I've decided to go with the Priest of Lileath or Lileath, however you want to pronounce that.
I say Lileath, but
whatever.
There's no guidance, is there?
Some elf thing.
Yeah.
I don't actually care. But again,
She'll never bless you if you say that.
Army-wide bonus is that you essentially the whole army gets +1 combat res. Which I just figured would just help stop crumbles.
That's got to be an auto take for an undead list, surely.
Well, I thought, that's going to stop crumbles. I'll have that. That's right up my street. And her sort of army, her unit specific one is that she gives the unit just in fight in extra ranks special rule, which is just a nice bonus, but not one I'm particularly bothered about. And her spell is Harmonic Convergence.
Now that's a good spell.
Evans, yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that is a very good spell. And what's her magic items? Oh, these are 2 expensive ones actually. Shard of the Star Crown. Once a game, you can declare using it, and any spell attempt made by the bearer of this item, which include a double, are dispelled with irresistible force. Now, that's important because there are missions where you have to dispel a lot of. You get points for dispelling enemy spell casting. So
it's pricey, but I mean, it could certainly be game changing if it was you use it on the right magic phase for sure.
So it's after power and dispel dice have been generated. So if they get that 12 dice, I'd be immediately saying I'm using that and just dispelling everything.
Yeah, that's it. You can really sort of risk popping that to shut down the magic phase that you don't want to happen against you.
And then cashing in all their mission points as well.
Exactly that.
And what's the other one? Magic weapons lose
Um,
all of their magical properties when making their magical attacks in close combat against them. So it turns off magic weapons. That's pretty good.
yeah, so like, yeah, I think it's a really cool defensive magic item.
Have you taken any of
35
these?
points, I think it's... No.
No.
No, I have not. Points are precious in my list.
Oh yeah.
Points are precious.
But I mean, with your list though, because Tomb Kings, if you've got Tomb King, they're quite tough by themselves. So turning off somebody else's magic items would be quite good for them.
But yeah, and to be honest, if I was taking a generic Tomb King, I would probably have thought about it from a defensive setup. But I'm not. I'm taking their own made, their homebrewed special character. Not because I actually am going to use any of the bonuses that he gives the army, or she gives the army rather, but purely because it's the character built for the narrative event, and I figured I should take him or her. So she's in the list because she's from the narrative, and I've got a non-standard model that I'm sort of trying to amend to represent her. So that's something.
Fair enough. So the next good guy is Vaul, and I've taken Vaul.
This is the one you're taking, isn't it?
Yeah. So his is army-wide. You never suffer the penalty for shooting at long range, which doesn't apply to war machines, but that's still really good. And I've built my list with that in mind. The Priest of Vaul as well increases the armor save of the unit he's in by 1, which I think because I'm taking high elves, which everyone will be stunned at, that is really good for high elves because armor ward saves are fine with, armor not so much.
Yeah, I mean, I'll look at Priest of Vaul because as a backup, if I couldn't get my Tomb Kings painted in time, which I've just decided I'm going to have to get done because I've submitted my list now. My backup was Lizardmen, and I was going to go Priest of Vaul because I think that extra armor save in, like, say, a block of Temple Guard,
yeah,
makes them outrageous, and the no long range makes your skinks even better.
Poison Cloud. But like my list, which we'll get onto it later, it's got a lot of archers. It's got mounted archers, and it's got Sisters of Avalon, which I've never used. I've used once before. I thought this is going to force me to paint them because they've just been stuck in the cupboard.
Hats off to you. Again, obviously we've seen your list, and it's cool. It's different. It's not your standard high elf list. It's themed. Like, it's exactly what I'd imagine this type of event is all about, which is bringing something that's not your standard competitive list.
The only thing that I haven't done, which I regret, but with real life commitments, I haven't been able to make a character. But next year I'll convert the character. So sadly, I don't have the special character for the high elves, but he might not be in it next year.
Well, exactly.
Exactly. The 2 magic items are Hammer of Vaul, which is essentially a hand weapon that makes him like what's it called? You wound on your armor save. Searing Doom. It's like the Searing Doom hammer.
Yeah, it's quite, but it allows no armor saves.
Yeah.
Against it. I think that's very cool. It's essentially that you've got the law of metal in a weapon, which is very interesting. 45 points, so pricey.
That is quite pricey, yeah. And my list doesn't. I don't really want to get into combat until the end, so I probably wouldn't have taken that anyway. And the other one's really interesting. For 20 points, it's a shield. The unit that the character with that joins is treated as defending an obstacle when fighting an enemy in their front facing. So that's
yeah, just again.
That's -1 to hit, isn't it?
Each of the priests. flavoursome.
Yeah.
And kind of in keeping with the thought behind each sort of representative of the elf pantheon, which
Oh, and this
gives
this really sold it for Vaul as his priest can cast enchanted blades. Like, yeah. So I don't.
mean,
I'm not going to lose any range penalties, and I can make them hit on +1 with magic armor piercing missiles.
arguably one of the best spells in the game,
Mm-hmm.
as you and I have discussed previously. Like I love enchanted blades. It is
Absolutely
so good.
one of the best. So that was a pretty easy choice. After I'd got in my head that right, I'm going to take a load of shooting. Vaul was just and Vaul doesn't get much attention as he deserves.
Vaul out there smithing it up for the other gods.
Even though he's blind. Still does it. Hasn't slowed him down.
That's it.
So that's the good guys.
That's the good guys. We're both good guys, which is has been said before about me.
How does it feel being on the side of Order?
I'm gonna lie. I'm not sure. I'm not sure about it. It's okay though, because in my heart of hearts, my Tomb Kings are loyal to the Great Necromancer, so it's okay. That's okay. My guys are loyal Kemrians to the true king and the rightful lord of Nekakara, Nagash.
It's getting political now. So the bad guys, they've got some pretty good abilities as well.
Very cool.
I think, having read it, it's the good guys' priests and dedications are pretty balanced, but looking at them, the bad guys, there was one in particular I would go for, perhaps more than the others. So I don't know if you thought the same thing.
Yeah, I did, to be honest. So,
so Kurnous, is that how you pronounce it? That's the hunter guy.
Yeah, Kurnous.
So all models in this army add 1 to their pursuit rolls. Now I do quite like that, because I'm constantly rolling 1 less than it takes to run people down. That's a personal decision. That's a personal reason.
Yeah, no. It certainly fits with Kurnous as a theme.
Yes.
And then I quite like his. So the first of his magic items is the Spear of the Hunt, which is a 12-inch range throw, strength as user, multiple wounds D3, quick to fire, and sniper. I mean, that's quite cool. To be fair, that is quite spicy.
Yeah, that's what does?
And then his second one is for your ward save versus any attacks against you from things with monster in the title.
See, I really like that because he's the god of the hunting, isn't he? So
yeah. And then what he gives, if you put him in a unit, he gives the unit devastating charge, which absolutely fits.
Yeah.
And his spell is Savage Beast of Horrors, which
that's really well done for Kurnous.
I think I think the guys have really designed him well and very in fitting with what they're doing.
He even used the spear as well, so yeah. The priest used the spear, so that's very well done. So we've done that, yeah. The next guy is Hekarti. Hekarti.
Oh,
it's the dark Lileath, isn't it?
Oh, this is absolutely who I'd be all over. To be honest, for me, if I was taking the aligned army that I would normally be using, or if I could make my Tomb Kings fight for the Wildwood, because I think this is just such a cool army theme. So, army-wide special rule is essentially Predatory Fighter. When a model with this bonus rolls a 6 to hit in close combat, you can immediately make another attack, but it doesn't generate further attacks, and that you must always pursue. It's essentially Lizardmen Predatory Fighter rule, which is quite cool.
Yeah, that's pretty good. I'm just gonna.
What I looked at.
Sorry. No, go on.
was going to say what really drew me to Hekarti, though, if I could have taken her, was that the unit you put the priest in gets poison.
Now that's pretty good. Is it just close combat, or is it a poison attack special rule?
Poison attack special rule.
Oh, right, okay.
And I couldn't help but think, I could just take 60 archers, plop that priest in, and essentially you've got a less good version of Khalida.
Yes. But, I mean, you could do blocks of, dark shards with that. That'd be horrific.
Yeah. You could definitely see this getting used quite. Like, I think this one's poison's nasty. Period, isn't it? It's a really good special rule,
especially with like elves and that with high BS.
Yeah,
where you're still going to get the 6. You don't have to roll 7s. Yeah, that's quite nasty.
So very briefly, the 2 special magic items for Hekarti. The first one, 25 points, arcane item. If a spell cast by the bearer does a random number of hits, you can choose to re-roll the result, which I think is very cool. So I don't know if you're casting Doombolt, for example, you can re-roll the number of hits, which I think is just very nice.
You have to re-roll
all dice.
To re-roll both.
And then the second one, 6 points immune to poison. And in addition, once per game, you can try to petrify a model, base contacts, make an initiative test. If you fail, you're dead.
So that's like mini Purple Sun.
Mini Purple, one-off Purple Sun. Get into close combat with some dwarf lord and just zap the dirt is gone. Other cleaning products are available.
That's unpleasant.
Yeah, I really like Hekarti. I think that's a really appealing priest.
And she casts. I'm saying she, priest could be a man. Hekarti's a woman, but Soul Blight, which is a really, really good spell.
Yeah. And again, in fitting with the theme, I think it's a very well put together character thematically, and one I'm a little bit jealous I can't take.
And Khaine, of course, you can't have bad guys without the god of murder.
Nope.
So, +1 to charge rolls. That's really good.
Yep, solid. Appeals to pretty much every army. It's nice.
Yeah. What's that? Like the average roll is now a 6. No, that's not right.
Yeah, 8.
8, yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's just solid. Like, is it game breaking? No. Is it nice? Absolutely.
Yeah, it's just that nice bit of. It makes a lot more charges, a lot more. Yeah, I think I'll go for it now.
Yeah, and again, we go through special rules. This priest's clearly designed to be used in a nice sort of aggressive combat army, as you'd expect from the God of Murder.
What does he do if you put him in the unit?
He
hatred.
His hatred, which again, another very good special rule.
That's really good. And he's
not only that, but his bound spell, which I know you love, is the Flaming Sword.
Oh yes.
Oh, what a spell! What a spell!
So good. Get the charge early, re-roll them, and then +1 to wound.
Yeah.
Get it off.
Very cool. Nicely put again. Get well put together character.
Yeah. God of Murder, making it easier to wound. So again, very well written characters here. What's this? So he's Khaine's magic items. Gauntlets of Murder.
1 point high, armor 1 point higher than normal. Must always issue a challenge, but you can reroll fail to hit wounds, and you have kill and blow when in a challenge.
That's nasty. That again, very, very appropriate.
Yeah, 30 points. I think it's well cost. I think
Yeah,
it's
that's a good price for
magic
that.
armor slot. I think it's a nice bit of armor, to be honest. Yeah, you could. I can see it certainly on a dark elf like lord or wood elf lord type thing being really quite nasty. Or
And
chaos lord. Oh, any combat lord,
yeah,
to be
a
fair.
comment a lot of that. Dispatch.
Yeah.
And the other one, the Mask of Khaine, 30 points again. You've got Frenzy, but you get D3 extra attacks. But you've got to roll every time you make your attacks, and you can never lose
But you
it.
can. Oh, that's 30 points. What a dream.
Those two
That's good.
together. Imagine those two together on a character.
Yeah.
And the D3 extra chances to roll that killing blow.
Friends is a double-edged one, though, isn't it? Because you can get baited, etc. But I mean, it's still outrageous. Who cares? If you're playing a god dedicated Khaine, you're charging.
That's
It's a narrative event. Play it properly, get in combat, and get aggressive.
Yeah, that's great. I think I mean they're all great, but I think the evil gods priests are really well written.
Are better, which is just standard because they're always cooler, aren't they? Like you watched He-Man as a kid, you never rooted for He-Man. Skeletor was clearly cooler.
He's dedicated to Khaine as well.
Skeletor, Hardy.
Possibly, yeah. On a gash.
Yeah, the rightful king of the undead. Sure.
Well, I don't think we'll go into all of the special characters because there's quite a lot of them.
Yeah, I was going to sort of suggest that as well. Like every army has their own unique special character, which gives unique special rules and unique special items, magic items that they can take. I think what is nice, like if you take the unique event special character, you cannot take any special characters from the army book, which I think is correct.
Yeah.
And a nice thing to do to encourage use of them in the narrative event. Like they're their characters for this event. Hopefully, we see quite a lot of them being used.
I can't help think that's a personal attack, but
it wasn't after I said it. I was like, "No, I'm gonna roll with it."
No, I fully accept. I should have started earlier, but oh well. The only one I wanted to mention.
Stuff for life.
I know, real life, I didn't get my priorities right. Next year, I aim to take the Tzeentch demons to more stuff or any stuff as a way of getting them painted, because I really quite like the demon special character.
Yeah, to be honest, I wrote a couple of demon lists just because of that. I thought, he's really cool, but he's a little bit too expensive. I couldn't fit him in and a greater demon. And if I'm going to a narrative event, I'm taking a greater demon.
Yeah, 365 points before you've got him, because he's got to have a disc, surely.
Of course he has. No disc, no point.
Yeah,
that's how Tzeentch has to roll.
But if he's in it next year,
and even if not, a narrative event is exactly the type of list to take your
yes,
take a demon list, a pure Tzeentch demon list too.
That's the way to do it. You don't go plague.
Take away Chiron. It's not a competitive list.
Absolutely not. Just as planned.
Yes, indeed.
So the Empire. No. High Elf. So this is the guy I'm not taking, who is Alathan, the Phoenix Lord. He's he's supposed to be the captain of the guard at the Shrine of Asuryan, so he's pretty high up. His abilities are: if he loses his final wound, you roll a d6. It's sort of like the Flames of the Phoenix thing, where the Fire Phoenix can come back. On a 6, he comes back from the dead. On a 1, nothing happens. On a 2 to 5, the unit that destroyed him suffers d6 hits. That's pretty good. And unless he's fighting demons or undead, in which case he just dies.
It's just dead.
But his weapon is really good. So he's +1 strength. And if you're fighting demons or undead, Flamen, you're always wounded on a 2 up. And can't be wounded on better than a 3 up if being attacked by As if being attacked by demons and undead, that's improved to 4 up. So he's quite
Yeah.
resilient.
He's a lord. He's 310 points. He's still an elf. So he's got all the elfy goodness.
That's about what you'd pay for anointed anyway. So
yeah, no, that's. I mean, he's costed correctly.
Yeah.
I would suggest. He's cool, and again, theme wise, I like him. You would have to dedicate your army to Asuryan.
Yeah, even if it didn't benefit you, because
I'd have to just call you out for being gamey to narrative.
That's
because it's
a high up in the Phoenix Guard is not going to dedicate himself to Vaul, is he?
No.
Syrian's going to be pretty annoyed if he's showing you the Chamber of what's it called? Chamber of Days, and you've just gone off to Vaul. Yeah.
Be a bit miffed, rightfully be a bit miffed, wouldn't
he? Yeah.
So and then that's the tomb that kind of leads us to the Tomb King one, which I am taking.
Yeah.
Not to utilize any of their special rules because I don't. The special rules is that you can take one unit of Ushabti as core instead of special, which I think's amazing. But I don't have any Ushabti, so I don't have any in the army.
Does it actually make Ushabti worth looking at rather than?
Oh, as core, they'd be amazing. Yeah. I mean, they'd still be outrageously expensive, but they'd be filling your core slot. But I don't have any, so I'm not taking any.
So was next year.
But yeah, exactly. But it's just 240 points. Karaf the Architect. Almost a Tomb King's base stats, but not quite. Weapon skill 6. Strength's only 4. Toughness 5. 3 wounds rather than 4. 4 attacks. LD 10. Flammable. But if she's alive, Ushabti also get 5 up regen. So, you should blatantly be taking a big unit of Ushabti with this character, which I am just not taking, sadly.
That actually makes them more viable.
Amazing. Incredible. Yeah, a horde of these bad boys as core is clearly what the guys expect someone who's taken this person to take, and rightfully so, because that would be really, really very cool. But she's got an armor piercing set of paired weapons, which gives additional attacks equal to the amount of rank bonuses in the unit she's fighting.
All right.
So up to plus, which I think is so she's got 4 attacks, +1 for paired weapons gives it 5, up to another +3 for maximum rank bonuses, so she can have up to 8 attacks.
So if you're going reforming deep to get steadfast, then the counterpoint is you're giving her more attacks. Really
cool, but it is only strength 4. It's still pretty cool. I like it, and she's also got a item for 4 at ward save, which also confers -1 leadership to the troops in combat with her.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, look, 240 points. Like, I think again, she's not brilliant, so the cost is okay. Like, it's less than a Tomb King would cost, but she's not as good as a Tomb King. You should really be taking that just to take Ushabti and core and have them with regen. But hey ho, I'm not.
You're not taking the magic standard either.
No, I'm not taking any of the things that you would actually take by taking this card. I'm just taking her because she's the special character for the event.
Every time you're saying that, I feel like I really should have taken the special character.
And honestly, you also do get 1 mission point just for having the special character. So it does mean you start off the game with every single mission or scenario or other with a mission point by taking the special character for the event.
That's
also.
Sorry, go on.
Does kind of make them, even if you're not taking any of the fundamental special rules, from a competitive narrative standpoint, so to speak, does make them worth taking because you start with a better chance of winning each game just by having them.
That's a lesson to read the comp, which I didn't do at Derby either, before you submit your list, because I only realised that after I had got an army in mind. But never mind. These things happen.
So that person will be my general, Karaf the Architect.
Just noticed the red dukes in here, so making an appearance.
Yeah, to be honest, I was nearly tempted to continue to use VC just to use the Red Duke because he's well cool. And I've got the original Red Duke model sitting in the shed. So
It'd be next year. So that's the characters and the dedications. Just have a brief scan over the games because they sort of pair the gods off against each other. The game one
yeah,
is
I like
Lileath and
that.
Hekarti, who are like opposite sides of Lileath's like high elf magic
The
and Hekarti's dark elf
Dark
magic.
Elf.
Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, you get a mission point for having one of the special characters, but more importantly, the actual concept of the game to win this scenario is you get one mission point every time you dispel an enemy spell, which is very cool. And you get one mission point every time you kill an enemy wizard, or 3 points if at the end of the game the opponent has no wizards. Runesmiths, Rune Lords, and the Dwarf special character does count as a wizard for the purposes of that mission.
Like, again, this is really well done from a narrative perspective. If you're saying these two gods are fighting, then yeah, you're trying to get rid of their servants by killing wizards and stopping casting. So I like that. I like that a lot. This is
Yeah.
this is the one I've practiced. I've only practiced one, and I think it's
I mean, I haven't practiced any. I haven't even used Tomb Kings ever before. So the first time I also don't have any opportunity to have a practice game. So the first time I will be using these Tomb Kings will be at the event.
just we're doing it live.
In for a penny, in for a pound.
Exactly.
Yeah. Plus, it's narrative as well. So if you're gonna go with an army that you've never played before, why the hell not do it at a narrative event?
Yeah, because it's all a bit of fun, really, isn't it?
Yeah, to be honest, just looking forward to going down there, seeing what people are doing, and genuinely looking forward to playing an army I've never played before.
That'll be me with demons next year. The next one is Vaul and Kurnous, conduits of power. This one is you get a point if you've got the special character. The player whose team is losing at the time gains an additional mission point. So I like that.
Yeah, and that flows from every game going forward, which I just think again keeps the balance and keeps people pushing, so it stays on a bit of a knife edge. And you don't want one team plowing ahead of the other. That would take away a bit of the edge of the idea of the narrative, I would suggest.
I like that because it keeps people interested, isn't it? It's like it's an auto balancing thing.
Yeah, and I think the guys have done a good job in putting that together.
There's conduits, so this is you've got to bring your own objective markers. So
there's essentially you deploy in the corners rather than across the edges.
Yeah.
There's a objective in each corner, so you will start with one in each deployment zone and then one sort of adjacent.
I'm sure they've played this on their channel.
Something very similar for sure. And then you randomize which one every turn, and if you're on it with a fortitude score and unit, you get a mission point, and then it switches to one of the other three every turn. So it does change every turn. So you couldn't just camp on one of them.
It's gonna mix on. And if you cast the Beseech the Gods from your priest within 6 inches of the active conduit, you get double the amount of mission points. So that's
that screams Mark 6 dice Beseech the Gods every turn.
In 8 bounds, doesn't matter if you miscast.
Exactly that. If I'm 6 dice now, I can't 6 dice cast it. And
I can't 6 dice fiery convocations. So.
Exactly.
You've got to pay for these things. You've got to keep an eye on the overall objective. It's not just to incinerate the enemy. You're actually going to get the mission points.
I actually have to pay attention to what's going on.
Game 3 is Asuryan and Khaine fighting. So again, you get 1 point if your team is losing. It's 1 mission point when every enemy model is slain in a challenge. +1 if it's mounted on a monster or a chariot. So that seems fitting for Khaine being in here. And then
Yeah.
you get a mission point if the enemy priest's been slain, and an extra 3 if your priest is still alive. So this is sort of like a point preservation. This is two things, isn't it? Like you want to get the points for
Yeah.
challenging, but you want to preserve your priest.
Yeah, again, I like the idea of it. Like it's Khaine versus Asuryan. It's killing versus sort of preservation. Like
Mm.
it again, very cool.
Death versus creation. Well, not exactly
Yeah,
death. Murder
yeah,
versus creation.
but yeah, very cool. And that will take us to the sort of the end of day one, whereas day one is the battle amongst the gods, almost for supremacy, so to speak. Which then takes us into day two, which feels a nice way to spend day one from a thematic point of view.
Yeah, and we're sort of at the end game. So the next one is Heart of the Forest. So what's this one?
This one where you place 3 objective markers randomly. Must be more than 12 inches away from any other marker and more than 6 inches from a board edge. So I think you're going to get some funky positioning. At the end of each player's movement phase, one either infantry, monster infantry, or cavalry character in base contact with an objective can test to see if they find the heart of the forest. And if you roll a 6, you found it. And then if you do find it, you get rid of all of the other markers. And that it's very then both clear that you found the heart. On a 1 to 5, you get rid of the objective and you keep looking for it. If at the end of the game that character who found the marker is still alive, they score 3 mission points. If they've been slain, the opponent gains 3 mission points. So they don't need to go recapture the heart. They just need to kill the person who does find it.
I like this. This is like this is clearly an objective I'm going to forget.
Well, the other thing as well, you get a mission point for every unit that you get within your enemy's deployment zone.
This is just standard battle line deployment as well, so you have got to cross the board.
So this one's I like that, to be honest. I think that's going to be a really interesting scenario. Also, it randomly ends from turn 5. So at the end of turn 5, you roll dice on a 5 up, the game ends. At the end of turn 6, it ends on a 3 up, and then it might last up to 7 turns.
That's going to be tense when someone's got the heart of the.
Earlier, a few of the other games are like that as well. But I just think again, it adds that random feel to it, which is very cool.
Yeah, you can't like run out the clock in a way because you don't know when the game's actually going to end.
Now we finish with the final showdown.
Yes. So what's this one? End the game at a mission point if the enemy general's been slain. 3 if your general's still alive. 1 mission point every time a unit standard or battle standard is slain. And D3 if the priest of the pantheon on the other side is slain. That's like all-out decapitation of the enemy army, isn't it?
Exactly that. It's all about finishing off the opponent and taking victory for either the Wildwood or the Oak, which I think it feels a really nice culmination, and hopefully we'll see some really kind of epic showdowns to finish the weekend off.
These are all really good.
Yeah, it certainly just sort of chatting through them really kind of increases the desire to just get down there and enjoy it. Like the anticipation's is rife. Like it's a really well put together pack. Really looking forward to playing in it.
There is no quiz, but there is something else. I'll find out what it is.
It was at the top, wasn't it?
Teams of 6 to build a list of 8 answers to some of the trickiest Warhammer questions we can devise.
Quiz.
Yeah, well, it sounds like a quiz to me. So
what I'm hearing is that we need to defend our title of quiz champions.
Well, I think they should make the high elf questions more difficult because I said that at the time last at the Triple Crown.
Just drop them and ask questions about armies that people give a shit about.
That's not even worth dignifying a response to.
High elves have been around so long, people are just bored of them now.
Never be bored of high elves. It's never going to happen. Speaking of high elves, now that we've done that was a good transition. Now that we've done the
Most planned.
It wasn't. Should we just finish off then with our lists? Because my list is high elves.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, let's do that.
I'll admit that again, because of real world pressures, I didn't think this. I didn't know what to come up with, and I just thought I wasn't feeling very inspired for it because I didn't have time to look at it. So I just slapped anything together with the idea of Vaul. So it doesn't look the fluffiest, but we'll see. So it's dedicated to Vaul. There's an Archmage with the now generic Book of Hoeth and Talisman of Preservation.
What they get when they get out of the Tower of Safri, isn't it?
They just print them up at the White Tower. Just give them all. Every graduate gets one. The Priest of All. Well, that was. I'll not say what magic items we've got because we'll keep that secret. But that's a given that with Book of Hoeth and Talisman of Preservation is on every high elf mage, isn't it? So for heroes, I've gone for a Lothern Sea Helm, and in a world first, a Handmaiden of the Everqueen, because she's actually a lot better than I've given her credit for. She's quite expensive, with magic items. She's 145 points, but she's ballistic skill 7. And she gives, if you've got a unit of Sisters of Avalon, which I do, she gives them quick to fire, which doesn't sound like much, but working with Vaul, that means they're never going to get a -1 for moving. They can always stand shoot, and they're never going to get -1 for range. I mean, she's feeble in combat, but I don't intend. If she's in combat, then she's screwed anyway.
It fits the theme of your list, though, that your list is a much more ranged, Vaul orientated list, I suppose.
Yeah. So on that, I've got 30 archers, 2 sets of Illyrian Reavers, and 5 silver helms. I initially had 8, but 8 doesn't seem like I didn't need 8 for what I was using them for. They're just like hard chaff, perhaps war machine hunting. So I didn't need 8. I dropped 8 to increase the amount of archers I had. Silver helms. I think unless you're running them in a character delivery system, I didn't need 8. It was just an odd number.
No, I think you're right. I think 5 or 6, arguably 7, but no, I think 5 or 6 for me is the size you want them in for being good chaff.
This is the bit that's not narrative friendly. It's a 38 Phoenix Guard.
Let's see it and move on.
Well, I mean,
they're not a horde of white lions.
They're not.
That's fluffy.
They're not white lions. And when I saw the Vaul is priest is +1 armor, I just thought immediately put them in there because that's.
You thought, what a Phoenix Guard need more survivability.
They're famous for their durability, so 4 up armor, 4 up ward is I'm not proud of that bit, to be honest.
Look at listen to how happy you are.
I know. Yeah, I am quite proud of that. Anyway, I've got 3 Eagle Claw bolt throwers, which don't benefit from the wall thing, but high magic, I'll clearly be taking high magic. So there's a lot of potential targets for Hand of Glory here. 2 Great Eagles for chaff and delaying and redirecting, and then 20 Sisters of Avalon. Because I've used them once before. Well, I've used them twice now because I used them in a practice game, and a sort of semi-practice game, and I'd forgotten how good they are. I've heard them described as the Phoenix Guard of archer units, and but because
a spicy unit as well.
Yeah, and they're still elves, so they're still always strikes first if they get into combat. But I don't intend on that happening. But because you're always fighting the forces of destruction, they always get that +1. Another reason to take it, they always get that +1 to the, or -1 to the armor save. So strength 4 bows, but if you're fighting forces of destruction, you get an extra -1, and then that'll work with the Priest of Vaul with enchanted blades because it's not armor piercing. It just says forces of destruction is -1. So in theory, I could get them to -3.
And to be fair, I know you haven't taken the special character, but like that list is I know we laughed about the freestyle, but it is nicely sort of themed with Vaul in mind, and fighting for like the protection of the world and for the armies of the Oak. Like, I like the idea of the sisters and the fact that you are hunting down the force of destruction. I think it's cool.
Yeah,
I think
because
it is cool.
the Avalon is a wood realm anyway, so some representation there. This is the desperately trying to justify this army list. Phoenix Guard don't really fit, but what else? What else could you put there? There's no special.
You need to have some sort of block, don't you? Like,
Yeah, you need to have some anchorage and some benefit for the Priest of Vault to go into.
the sad truth is, like, White Lions probably fit the theme better.
They do, yes.
From a thematic point, actually, White Lions do fit.
They are woodsmen,
but
so
yeah, people wouldn't accept that it's themed though, and you just say, "Oh, there's a standard horde of White Lion." Like, oh, what a surprise! Oh, is there an Archmage in there? Of course there is. Yeah, so actually, sadly, your White Lions would probably fit your theme even better. But I totally appreciate you want to do something a bit different, and you're just going to you don't want to rock up with your Horde of White Lions again at a narrative, do you?
No, I mean, in the meta as well, I always bring the White Lions to the like strongly competitive or the more competitive things.
Yes.
So it's nice to change them. I think last time I took Swordmasters and a block of Phoenix Guard, but the Phoenix Guard, when I've tested this list twice, once or twice, once sort of half because I wasn't playing the priest rules, but they're in a nice position because the Archmage means that if you get into if nobody wants to fight them, that's fine because I can shoot and cast. Or if you do want to fight them, well, you're fighting a lot of Phoenix Guard, potentially buffed with Hand of Glory and Enchanted Blades and stuff like that. So it makes the army quite flexible. Do you want to fight the Phoenix Guard or do you want to avoid them? It doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's nice army, good theme, a lot of shooting.
Yeah, this is the most shooting I think I've ever taken.
You've got lots of dice to roll in a couple of phases, which is always cool, isn't it? It's all about rolling dice.
And those going back to the sisters, you don't realize how good strength 4 shooting is until I've never had it, except the bolt throwers. But
that extra point of strength is such a difference.
Well, I played when I played them before, even like shooting things like Charybdis, which is toughness 5, like even that extra you wound on 5s, not 6s, that makes such a difference.
Add that to Vaul with no long range,
yeah.
You're hitting so consistently as well because of how good your ballistic skill is.
Well, the ballistic skill 5, the sisters, so they're hitting on 2s. They're not suffering a movement penalty, and they're not suffering a range penalty. So
That's so good.
The only thing, so realistically, you could stick them behind the Phoenix Guard, and they would be -2, so they'd be hitting on 4s, +1 for Enchanted Blades if you cast it, or Hand of Glory. So you could mean that you couldn't ever touch them without going through the Phoenix Guard.
No, I think it's a well put together list, to be honest, Mark. I think it'll be fun to play as well. It's different to what you normally take.
There's no Phoenixes. There's no Everqueen. Yeah, that was mine. I've played it twice and I've enjoyed playing it twice, so I thought I'd just stick with it. Don't stop. There's no need to go.
The main thing.
Yeah, I didn't want to keep going back to it and worrying about it, so just stick to it.
Yeah, you're not there to sort of build the most powerful list. That's not what the event's about, is it?
No, except Phoenix Guard, which I imagine I'll get shit for, but you're always going to get shit for something.
It wouldn't be an event if you weren't getting shit for something, or whatever.
Correct.
Let's be honest. So with my Tomb King list, and I suppose so. I've mentioned it already, and I'll caveat that. Actually, I'm taking the theme special character, but I'm taking none of the other stuff that goes with her because I don't have it. I got these Tomb Kings ages ago, and they've sort of just sat there waiting to get built and painted and all the rest of it. So it's not actually the most themed list in line with what we've got that I'd like to have put down if I had a more wider range of models. But the reason I'm taking them is this event's just been a real driving force to prompt us to build and paint this army. So by the time we get there, I'll have had a ticket for 2 months because I was on the reserve list. And I'll have between my wife and I will have completely built and painted this entire army.
I'd say like and as a motivating factor for me, rating a list which I know I've got unpainted models in for a tournament or whatever. It's such a motivating factor in getting them painted, and it might not work for everyone, but if you want motivation, I would say sign up for a tournament, because you'd be surprised how much you can get through when you've got a goal in mind.
As you or anybody else who knows us knows fine well, I'm not a very good painter at all.
Come on!
I don't particularly enjoy it either. But I've actually surprised myself because I've had this goal in mind. That the more I've done, the more I've enjoyed it.
Yeah.
And I'm already planning on coming back to them because they're only going to be tabletop standard. I'm already planning to come back to them and touch them up. And I find myself actually, it's probably got us back into enjoying the hobby inside of the hobby.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Rather than just the game inside of the hobby, which is like very cool. So anyway, the list. I've got the special character as we mentioned before. In Lords, and then the other Lord I've taken is a Leech High Priest. That person's going to be me Hierophant. I'm going to expect magic items. He may or may not have a Talisman of Preservation.
They make a lot of them in the old world, don't they? They're just.
To be honest, once you crack open a few of those tombs, they're all over the place. The priest, and then in heroes, I've got another priest. This one to level 2, and on the Lore of Death.
Oh, nice.
I like level 2 on Death.
It'd be handy with
person will sit.
So it's going to be handy with. Oh, go on. Sorry.
So it'll sit in the special characters unit, and that means I can snipe at leadership 10, and it's always an option.
I was going to say with all the assassination missions, that's going to be really quite handy.
Yeah, well, hopefully, yeah. 4, I've got a block of 40 skeleton warriors, 2 blocks of 20 skeleton archers, and a unit of 3 skeleton chariots. In special, I've taken not 1 but 2 war sphinxes,
nice.
Both of which have got the fiery breath upgrade.
Of course,
why the hell not? I've got a unit of 4 Necropolis Knights.
I like them.
Yeah, snake riders. Who doesn't want them? Who doesn't want to deal with that? That's just cool. I was trying to get a unit of 6 in, but I couldn't without sacrificing stuff I wanted to try. So again, I've never played Tomb Kings before, never used them, that is. Just want to use some of the stuff that I've got. And then in the rare, I've got the obligatory Casket of Souls. Because I've got 2 wizards, I've also got the obligatory Hyro Titan.
Yeah.
And then I've got a
D3.
The Necrolith Colossus, or as veterans would call it, the Bone Giant.
Is it the one? Oh, is it the one with the hat or not?
The what? Sorry.
There's one with the hat.
Oh, no, it's not. None of, other than the casket and a couple of the characters. To be fair, none of the armies GW. It's
right.
It's a 3D army. Because I've already ransomed a fortune to have an official Forge World Chaos Dwarf army. Turns out I don't have any spare livers for an actual Tomb King army that I don't have anymore. Although I did used to have one and got rid back in the day. So obviously. So to be honest, we've got the Necros, the Snake Knights are started. They're not finished yet for painting. The Hyro Titan's not painted yet, and none of the characters are painted yet. So lots to do with T minus less than 2 weeks till the event.
Yeah, what's that? 12 days.
12 days, and I've got 4 characters to paint, the Hyro Titan to paint, and the Snake Knights to finish. And I also need to magnetize everything because it's all painted, but it's not magnetized yet. So sadly, I picked one of the worst times. September's one of my busiest months of the year for work as well. So I've clearly been a glutton for punishment. That's why I've not had a chance to play it, because every spare moment is painting. I've not allowed myself to like play on my computer or anything like that. That's like any spare time, Paint Pot comes out and I'll at least try to get something done. But you're right. What a motivating factor actually signing up. Because I don't want to play with an unpainted army.
No, can't do it anymore.
No, considering I didn't even used to think twice about it several years ago. That would disgust us now, the thought of it.
So is that you mentioned the casket as well, didn't you?
Yeah. Of
course.
Souls. Love it.
So have you got a plan about how you want this army to work, or is it just try everything and see what sticks?
It's a bit of a mash. It's I was thinking about not taking much magic, to be honest, and actually just going really, really heavy with constructs. And if I had more, or any rather, Ushapti to fit in with the theme, I would have just went pure construct army because I think it would have been absolutely hilarious. Otherwise, actually, it's quite fairly. I think it's a fairly generic Tomb King army. To be honest, like I'm not going to sit and say it's anything other than like really quite normal. But I want to get a chance. I want to have a feel for the army that I've never used and see how stuff works. To be honest, because my intention is Tomb Kings will be my army for the rest of this year, like for next year rather. Like I want to take to this narrative. I intend to take it to the Triple Crown next year, potentially even to the Derby event next year, and then anything else in between as well. The only thing it's not penciled in for, as you well know, is the Cardiff event.
We will do an episode on Cardiff.
That's Filth Fest 2022.
Spoil it! Don't spoil it.
God.
What was I going to say there? Totally went blank there. But yeah, it's a motivating factor. You've done quite. That's quite impressive that you've gone through effectively an entire army just with a few characters and snakes to do.
Honest, it is the most. It's the most I've painted, probably in 20 years.
And that's for like you only got your ticket at short notice, so it's even more impressive.
Yeah, I got the ticket. I think end of July, or possibly August. Either way, it was short notice. So, and the army wasn't even built then. So I built it, primed it, painted it. Yeah, I think when it's done, I'm going to be quite pleased with myself, to be honest.
Well deserved.
But like that, there are lists, and like I'm really looking forward to the narrative event. There's a nice little squad of us coming down from the north.
It's 5 of us, isn't it?
It'll be good. Yeah, 5 of us. It'll be good. It'll be good, and hopefully the arms of the Orc will defend the old world against this crazy wood elf.
I'm just I'm glad we've got recorded that you and I are on the same side for something.
Yeah, I know. It just doesn't feel right, does it?
Never happen again. I've got 20 sisters to finish, and I've got to paint the objectives, the priest, and the handmaiden. I'm done. Which sounds a lot, but I think I'll be all right.
You made a decent start on your handmaidens, though, haven't you, as well? So it's not you having to paint all 20 of them from scratch. But
they look like a nightmare, but contrast is speeding it right up.
Yeah, I must admit, to be fair, like all of this painting for the most part has been done by contrast. Like, thank God.
It's
what a difference, and it works well on undead as well, and all things with texture. No, looking forward to it.
Yeah. So we might do one after the event, like a summary of what happened, if you're up for that.
Yeah, definitely. We'll definitely get that penciled in.
And then I don't know if we can rope Stan into doing a pre-Cardiff one or a post-Cardiff one.
I'm sure we can.
Strong arm.
Definitely.
There's a whole lore about Cardiff, which we'll probably do in that episode. Yeah.
Hashtag carnage.
Red stripe and what was the other thing?
Red stripe carnage.
Red Stripe Carnage, Rumbar, whatever it was.
Yeah. Savage.
Yeah, definitely. So thanks for going through that. I'm going to say good luck because we are actually on the same side as I was saying before.
Oh, like we're out there defending the old world. Good guys. Hashtag good guys.
Well, I will see you for what happens in the second Sundering episode if we do it.
Absolutely. See you then.
See you later.